Welcome to Between the Lines. We have been on a taped series delay for the last month. We haven't done any live shows. Took a break. Everybody's got to have a break. And we are back, and we have 11 straight shows with definite themes. We did a fantastic energy series for 8 weeks, which got comments from all over the country who watched it streaming and had TVA. You know, we had all the major projects that are going on for small reactors. We had some information, and of course UPF was a big show, and we just got a lot of comments. So we're going to do 2 series. We're going to do a 5-week series on artificial intelligence, as we call it, AI. And then we're going to do another 5-week series on health in East Tennessee. I mean, what's going on in East Tennessee? Covenant's going to come on and help us. We're going to have different theme shows for 5 weeks. We'll be promoting those ahead of time. But first, we're going to get an overview of the AI. A lot of interest in AI. I mean, every one of us hear about it every day. It's running our world, folks, and the machines haven't taken over yet. We're still in charge, but just a lot of different things that are going on in the demands and the framework. And so we're going to bring Stephen McNally on today, who has been in the supercomputing world and has been on the forefront. Now works with a contractor for the Department of Defense, and he's the man. When you hear about all of ORNL's achievements at fastest computers in the world and everything, Stephen was out there for a decade contributing to that and helping with that, and now he's moved into a private sector. That's private too, but I don't think of those 3 plants as private that much. So we're going to talk today to Stephen McNally, and we're going to talk about who is a broad perspective, very invested in the Clinton community, extraordinary citizen. He's done all the things by 40 that I haven't done by 70. So he's been a valuable asset to the community, and he's an extraordinary individual. Welcome, Stephen.
Yeah.
And we're here, and I think we're going to have some interesting shows in the next 5 weeks, and we welcome you. Tell us something about yourself. I know you have a lot of kids, and I know you have a private business, and I know you're on the CUV board, and I know you're extremely successful in the computer world. Tell us more. Get me through Clinton High School.
Yeah, so first off, thanks for having me.
I'm glad we need to hear from you.
Yeah, I'm humbled to be here and honored to share the stage with what's to come. Some of your upcoming guests I've worked with in the past, and they're leaders really across the world. So I would encourage everybody to definitely tune into that as it comes. But yeah, so I've been married to my wife now for 17 years. We have 5 kids, 3 biological, 2 adopted. We've been foster parents for about 8 years. We actually just adopted our 5th, our little girl. She just turned 3.
Wow.
And so she's kind of rounded us out, we think.
Big need for that, isn't there?
There's a huge need for that. Just within Anderson County, which is kind of surprising. You think the need might be small in different areas across the state, but there's a huge need in Anderson County and the surrounding counties too. So God placed that on our hearts early on in our marriage, and we were fortunate enough to be able to pursue that. And we've got 2, forever blessings through that.
Absolutely.
You mentioned, I'll take you up through Clinton High School, so I'll tell you a little bit about that. Grew up in Clinton, just right outside, a stone's throw away from the city limits. Grew up in Old Score Hills, went to Grand Oaks, and then Norwood Middle. Followed a bunch of my buddies out to Norwood for basketball and other sports.
Right.
And then went to Clinton High School. Clinton High School.
Where'd you go to middle school?
Norwood Middle.
I was just curious.
Yeah. And Clinton High School holds a special place in my heart. My kids we're obviously zoned for there, and my kids are on that pathway through Clinton High School. It shaped me into who I am today, along with other factors, church and other community folks and my family. But Clinton High School is a very special place. I was fortunate enough to go during a time when there wasn't a weighted GPA. So I was one of a few valedictorians at the time.
Sure. That had actual A's and everything.
Yes, they had straight A's, the 4.0.
Yeah.
But I made a different decision through school. A lot of folks, AP classes were big at the time.
Sure they were.
But they had just started dialing into college credit courses in high school.
Now it's a regular thing.
Now you can get your associate's degree before you even get your diploma.
High school, that's right.
And so I was fortunate enough to start college with about 18 credit hours between what I was able to do at Clinton High School, some summer classes that were fully funded at UT that then transferred over to Carson Newman, where I got my undergrad, and then was able to get my master's in business from Tennessee Tech. I did that online while working before COVID. So if you can imagine, everything's online now, right?
Yeah.
Especially with what we're going to talk about. But I was able to kind of balance, young family, working full time, and doing that. And that's a big shout out to my wife. She's.
I was going to say, I didn't know a lot about you, but she's a superstar. I mean, everybody
awesome.
talks about her, South Clinton, everywhere, all the work she's done. Just incredible.
She's great. She's definitely my better half.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that.
Yeah.
Tell me, why computing? Why not medicine? You're bright, you're the valedictorian. Why not medicine? Law doesn't have any status anymore, but I'm afraid we don't have the barristers have taken place for the quick deals, but we don't have as many attorneys as we used to have, Bryce, up in those areas. But I mean, I think medicine, and there's a few other things that were just attractive, and you're in the computing, which turned out to be a very lucrative opportunity, but at the time, I don't know.
Well, I'll start by just saying God has a plan. Obviously.
I agree with that.
And I'm a firm believer in that. And I've got a couple of stories that I'll tell around that. I wasn't really prepared to talk about this, but I'm glad you asked this question.
No, let's go.
It's great. So my grandfather came down to Oak Ridge as part of the Manhattan Project. I think
he's a friend of mine.
Yeah.
He was a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And for others to know, that would be Lieutenant Governor Randy McNally's father as well, and just an extraordinary man.
Yeah. So my paternal grandfather, Rand McNally, came down. He was teaching at MIT at the time.
Amazing.
He's a nuclear physicist, commissioned.
Where did he go to school?
That's a great question.
I'd have to look it up. Go ahead.
He passed when I was still in school, so I'm still learning things about him.
Yeah.
He was a very quiet, reserved family man outside of work.
No question.
And so I never got to see the working side of him until I started working at the lab and actually talked to some of his former postdocs and other folks that got to collaborate with him and learned a ton about him. But so he came down for the Manhattan Project. My maternal grandparents also came down in a very different way. They were so my maternal grandfather was a construction worker by trade, and he ended up specializing in drywall, and so he built a lot of the buildings like S&S and things like that.
Sure.
He was on those crews, and since he's passed, I've gotten to see some of the little trinkets and service awards that they gave out for some of those crews. So it's really neat because both sides of my family, my father's and my mother's side, they both converged in this area kind of around the same time to build something special, which now is a gem, right? And so I didn't. A lot of this I've learned, as I said, as I've become older. But you asked why computing specifically. So I don't have computing in my family lineage.
Right.
Computers were just sort of a newer thing when I was in elementary, middle school. The old Apple IIe green screens and programming in basic code.
No Facebook at that time. No social media.
None of that. No.
You
actually had to talk to people. Yeah. And so my plan. Which is why I want to acknowledge God in all this. My plan was to go to the FBI.
That makes sense. That's a luxurious career.
I wanted to kick down doors and arrest bad guys. That was my thing. And I knew that was my path.
Probably bad guys today. You'd have
there
a lot
is,
of work.
I thought I knew that was my path starting in about middle school.
Sure.
And then I realized as I grew older and as my goals became clearer to be a good dad and a good husband first before pursuing throwing my life into a career first and foremost, I decided, maybe the FBI is not the best place for me. I met my wife in college.
You could be assigned anywhere, that's right.
And I was already majoring in computers, and I didn't know, but God had been kind of working computers throughout my life all the way through from elementary, middle school, and high school. I was very athletic in school, but I was also a nerd, and I enjoyed both things quite a bit. And I would actually program and write my own games on the large floppy disks back in the day. Yeah, that was back when I was in elementary school. And so it was really neat that I'd never even considered a career in computing until I met my wife and kind of my priorities were realigned.
Sure.
And then I was fortunate enough to go work in healthcare IT for a while. I worked for Covenant Health for a couple of years. They invested significantly into me. I'm forever grateful for the 2 years I got to spend there. And then I threw my name in the ring for a job at O&L, working for the University of Tennessee on their up-and-coming supercomputing program. I thought there's a snowball's chance that I'll get this, and lo and behold, I landed the job. So the rest is kind of history.
Stayed there a decade, right?
Yeah, stayed there about 13 years. Wow. And did some work on a special assignment from Jeff Smith over in the HR department to try to
kind of help. Jeff Smith, yeah.
Oh, he was a huge mentor of mine and a great friend.
Well, if everything else was for Jeff's run the place for a long time. He's the operations guy, right? He gets it done.
Yeah. And so now, I'm fortunate to work remotely here. I get to live and work in Clinton. I work from my house, supporting the Department of Defense and ultimately providing the warfighter capabilities and cutting-edge research opportunities for those research teams to give them the advantage on the battlefield.
And that's computer-related too, supercomputer? And all
very much, yeah. We run supercomputers for Army, Air Force, Navy, and the Corps of Engineers.
That's probably all we need to say about that.
Yeah.
That is exciting. Tell me a little bit about. So you get into that, and you get into O&L, and you see everything's developed. That 13 years, you saw a lot develop, right? I mean, technology changed, everything changed. Tell us just a little bit. Well, first, let me go back. Tell me about your business. You're into baseball. You're into athletics. I'd like to know a little bit more about that. I read about that. I don't know.
Yes.
What do you do with it?
Yeah, so
Did you play baseball?
I didn't. I played college tennis at Carson Newman.
Did you? I played tennis a little bit.
So I played basketball growing up, had a significant head injury that kind of kept me off the court for a number of years, and I had to find something in high school to do. Right. And we ended up playing, I fell in love with tennis because I could be free out on the court with no one around me. And just be athletic. Right. Yeah. So I'd stay at J.C. Park 4 or 5 hours a day as long as the weather was nice, and then worked my way into a walk-on role at Carson Newman for their Division II program. And we actually got to go to the NCAA tournament one year down in Miami. And got flown down. It's nothing like the athletes today get, but it was a really nice free trip. Yeah.
Well, and it had. It's funny because I played a lot, but most men don't know about because it conflicted with baseball and other things.
Right.
But I was a serve and volley guy because I wouldn't put the time in to learn the stroke. I couldn't rally.
Yeah, the strokes are hard.
You got to work hard to be a good. But serve and volley, I was athletic, so serve and volley, I knew
that was me.
I came in, bang, here we go. It was over in 2 shots. I either lost or I won.
Right.
That's the way I played.
That was my philosophy too. I was going to get the point over with as quick as possible, and I would serve and volley as much as I could, especially in college.
I don't see that much anymore when watching. I don't watch that often. When I watch, there was a lot more. Borg rallied in my day, and those, but there was the Manuel Ortiz and the big guys and people that it was over quick.
Well, Sampras kind of perfected the serve and volleys, especially at Wimbledon.
Yeah.
It was a work of art. It was a work of art. So I never really played outside of just sandlot baseball with buddies growing up, or just at a family reunion or whatever. But I knew the game and I watched the game. It wasn't until out of college I was looking for something to do, like a lot of young adults do, and you discover slow pitch softball. And I fell in love with that. Started playing tournaments and kind of going all over the Southeast.
I mean, even in my day, which is 20 years before your day, or 25, people were obsessed with that.
It's still that way today. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you've got the Smoky Mountain Classic just down the road in Maryville, and it's still a big event.
Too.
Yeah, yeah. And so anyway, I got into that. Put that on hold once we started having kids, and then my kids got old enough where they wanted to start playing.
Okay.
So I started coaching them in t-ball and kind of learning and developing different things. And really, this business, it's on deck athletics. It's in Clinton. We're in the industrial park.
On deck athletics.
Yep, on deck athletics, and we do baseball, softball, specialized.
And you've got all that. You've got machines and training opportunities inside in an area.
We do.
There.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
We have about 7-8 coaches that teach out of our facility regularly. Some that do it full time, some that do it part time.
Right.
We've got opportunities for teams to come in and rent spaces, or just individuals to come in and rent lanes.
Is it self sufficient? Is it? Does it perpetuate itself? Do you get enough revenue in from those things to pay the bills?
Yeah, we break even. We've broken even every year so
That's
far, which is phenomenal for a new business. And my philosophy is, as long as we're not losing money and we're providing value to the community, we're all in on it. And we sponsor a lot of the rec leagues and things like that, of course. But yeah, we have a lot of fun. But in terms of technology, you mentioned the machines and everything. We've got some analytic machines in there that a lot of facilities don't have. More are getting
My
them.
good friend, City Councilman Sean Gleason's 10-year-old son is ranked as one of the best players in the country. You know, today they rank 10-year-olds. I don't know what that's about. But they go to these tournaments and they film. He's a catcher, big kid. And he trains over there in Knoxville somewhere, and they got all that kind of stuff.
He comes to our place quite a bit, too.
Does he really?
Yeah, he's there at least once a week, if not twice a week.
Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. And he, he takes from Michael White, one of our instructors that played at Anderson County, drafted by the Brewers. Phenomenal pitcher. Sean's son, he's a pretty special kid. I'd say his biggest strength, in having watched him on the baseball field as well as the basketball court, not only is he incredibly athletic, he's very smart. On the court and on the field.
Daddy's smart too. Instincts. Okay, let's take a break, Chandler. We'll come back and get started on the science.
Josh Anderson is a Republican who has fought for families across Anderson County throughout his adult life. Josh is a farmer, a husband, and a father. For 4 generations, his family has lived in Anderson County. A graduate of the University of Tennessee, Josh has served on the Anderson County Commission for 7 years and served as chairman for 3 years. Josh is a businessman who will put his experience to work for all of us. A supporter of term limits, Josh believes 2 terms as mayor is enough. Josh Anderson believes leadership starts with listening.
From Oak Ridge, Tennessee, IB3 Global Solutions conducts operations around the world to enhance the U.S. national security posture and minimize radiological and nuclear threats. IB3 Global Solutions. Mission first.
Vision, values, and commitments.
Extraordinary teams, building inspiring projects.
We live for a challenge.
We do the right thing.
Exercise the highest level of integrity and ethics.
Create a positive legacy.
Through purposeful
and sustainable projects.
We take care of each other.
Safety and well-being above all.
Treat each other with the utmost respect. We succeed together.
Embrace our differences.
Seek diverse views.
And listen to understand.
Foster a deep sense of belonging.
We build trust. Develop lasting one-team relationships.
With our colleagues, customers, and partners.
Hold ourselves accountable.
To deliver excellence.
Feeling overwhelmed with your business finances? At P&L Business Services, we handle all your bookkeeping, payroll, and tax needs. From federal tax returns to QuickBooks training, we've got you covered. With over 25 years of experience, we provide customized packages to fit your business. Focus on what you love most, building your business. Let us take care of the rest. Call 865-294-4792. P&L Business Services, empowering you to grow your business.
This is Joe Heckman, President of Waste Management at Energy Solutions. Nuclear power is on the rise. Energy Solutions is part of this transition and part of the solution, delivering comprehensive services and assets that support the entire nuclear life cycle. Energy Solutions is protecting and preserving the environment for generations to come.
At Navarro, we partner with our clients to advance technologies and deliver effective solutions for complex challenges in the nuclear, environmental, and clean energy fields.
Hi, I'm Rick Scarborough, State Representative. Friday nights are special in Anderson County. Football under the lights, warm weather, cool nights, and some intense rivalries. I want to congratulate the student athletes, the cheerleaders, the band, the teachers, the coaches. You've worked incredibly hard. Go out there, compete hard, and enjoy it. But nothing like high school football.
Welcome back to Between the Lines. We're talking with Stephen McNally. We've done our intro. Now we're gonna talk about artificial intelligence, what we can expect in our next 5 shows, and the type of issues that we're facing. So I'm going to make the questions very generic, having limited knowledge at this point, but I mean probably pretty well read. But if you don't do the science, you can't be that involved. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, Stephen, here's my question. The internet comes on, social media comes up, everything's moving faster. I've always argued, because my background's more, we'll say, existential, physical type, that kind of stuff. And I think human race has crammed more in the last 30 years than they had in the first 300 or the last 300. Technology is moving so fast, it's overwhelming all of us. And I think part of the problem with our children and other people. But my question to you is, we start out with computers. Al Gore invented the internet. Right. So we had the internet. How did that evolve into AI? Just step by step, generally speaking. Remember, our watchers and are like me, we're just trying to learn. So how did that happen?
Yeah, I think, just to start, I would say we're more connected and we have more information available to us than we ever have in the past. Before, I can remember having shelves of encyclopedias.
Me too. World Book,
when I mentioned the word encyclopedia to one of my kids the other day, they looked at me like I had two heads.
Of course.
Those things don't really, they're not in homes.
And I utilize it too. It's easier.
Right. But I think that's really what has jump-started this craze and the exponential growth we've seen in technology over the years. Everything is more connected. The availability of information and the amount of information.
And you think that drives more technology?
It has. Okay. Well, so for example, if I didn't grow up learning about how to fix a car,
okay,
where would I go to get that information? I'd go to maybe a friend or maybe somebody that I know that has that experience and have them teach me right back in the day, before the internet. Right. Now, you just pull it up on YouTube and replace most anything.
See, YouTube's a generational thing, too, because in my generation would be pulled up on Google. That was the masterwork.
Right.
IBM was, go make an IBM copy.
Right.
Well, it wasn't an IBM copy. It was a copy. But in our office, we always said, So same thing, Google it. They had enough of a brand. But now it's a lot of other things. I'm going to stay something. But I have Grok doing tasks for me.
Right.
I mean, simple tasks. But it gives me a report in the morning. I get up and the stock report's there. Other research is there. I just want to know those developments. Now I don't have to spend 30 minutes trying to find them. The report's there, then I can go find them. And Grok makes mistakes, but not a lot. Right. And it's fairly reliable. So
one thing I'll say along those same lines, whether you know it or not, the technology you use, whether it's a cell phone, a laptop, a tablet, or whatever it is, there are learning mechanisms built into these devices now that maybe you're starting to see for the first time. The fact that you're using Grok to give you daily tasks and kind of a summary of what's happened or what will happen.
Narrow usage.
But that's amazing. If you, did you ever think you would be there, 10 years ago?
I'll give you an example. I'm going to run a campaign and I'm going into, say, a Bradley County or a Polk County, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Give me the results from the August 22 election and how everybody finished. 9 seconds later, I've got all the results. I would have taken me a week with election commissions to do that.
Oh, if you could even get the websites pulled up. Sometimes those websites are down. Right. And that's the beautiful thing about the internet is people don't realize, too, the internet has a history. There's a memory out there, and there are sites specifically.
Now, how do they develop a history?
Well, they copy it. And so there are other sites that go out there and copy it, scrape it, take daily logs and download it down. That's how
this is all in the cyber world, not in the manual world.
It is, yeah. And that's how folks can reproduce tweets or social media posts that have since been deleted. Right. There are sites that are specifically designed to just go out and scrape things on certain people's, like Elon Musk's Twitter account or whoever's Twitter account, just so that they can
define scrape.
So when I say the word scrub or scrape, it just means to take a copy of, really.
That's already been deleted.
Yeah, well, so they copied it ahead of time.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So they're proactively copying.
They're programmed to do that.
Yes,
I get it. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And so one of the things, too, that has really started happening, and you may have seen this, too, if you've got an iPhone, if you get in your car at certain times of the day, it'll automatically pop up and tell you, hey, it's 10 minutes. It'll take you 10 minutes to get to Chick-fil-A because it knows that typically you go to Chick-fil-A or
wherever I'm going, and the day I'm going, it'll tell me you got 9 minutes to go. And to be honest, if you don't shut Grok off, I'll ask it 3 or 4 tasks. I'll get the task back. I'll turn to my wife and say, you need to feed the cats. Grok will come back on and say, yeah, it's important to feed the cats daily.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to push stop.
Yeah, there's some aspects to it that are a little creepy. And you know, also going back to your election example the example that you gave.
Right.
You can't always trust the outputs that you get either, right? These programs.
Sports, it's not as good. Like it'll say Ward had 2 interceptions last week. I'll ask him what happened again. He didn't, and then my son will say no, he had 1. They I think you point out they mix up turnovers with interceptions because it's the quarterback position. They haven't learned that yet.
There are some things that the program, whatever the type of artificial intelligence it is, has to make certain assumptions because you can't code everything in that it could possibly face, every scenario, every permutation of everything. So it has to be able to make some assumptions and go from point A to point G, missing, everything in between, right? Whereas in the past, the way that computers were built originally and the way that programs were built, you had to put every step in. If this happens, then do this. If this other thing happens, then do that. You had to think through as a programmer every possible scenario in which this program could be used or could be broken. Otherwise, it wasn't possible. Now we have the ability to program something such that it can make reasonable assumptions based on outside data sources or inputs it's received previously and get from point A to point G.
It learns all of that.
Yeah.
See, I think Grok's taking everything I say and putting it in memory. I think they know everything I've ever said or done.
They 100% do. Yes.
So be careful, folks. Okay. So you're out there working for 10 years at ORNL, where my father worked and your grandfather worked, and you've got all of this stuff working, and you get it all done. You're in the supercomputer. At what point did the fastest computer in the world become less important than artificial intelligence?
So I would say that the narrative or the focus is starting to shift now. And maybe a couple of years ago, you could argue that it really, really heavily started to shift more toward AI.
Let me ask this, because I remember I have to interrupt you because I don't know. Artificial intelligence was developed when? I mean, active artificial intelligence.
Well, I don't know technically when.
Within 10 years.
So, do you remember in Jeopardy?
Yeah.
When IBM Watson was on Jeopardy, they had Jeopardy contestants play against an artificial intelligence. Do you remember that?
No.
Back when Alex Trebek hosted Jeopardy.
Okay.
It's been 10-ish, maybe 15 years ago.
Okay.
IBM was on the forefront of something that they didn't even realize what they had at the time.
Right.
And now everybody's in the AI
But how
space.
do you develop an AI product? In other words, what do you have to put into it to create an artificial intelligence?
So early on, IBM, I'll talk about Watson just because that was probably the most popular.
That's the name of the computer.
That was the original one that, yes, it was this, and you couldn't even buy it as a product, but they were kind of flexing their technology muscle a little bit by doing the Jeopardy thing.
Yeah,
and
did a deal, yeah.
So what they did with Watson was they curated, and by curated I mean they pulled together all of this information.
Okay.
And this was back when the internet was still a little more disconnected, and there weren't sites designed to pull information in automatically. You couldn't go and get a summary, like there wasn't a Reddit, or something like that to get a front
It stayed
page.
within their own mission, their own focus.
So they went out and originally they thought, let's do medical journals. Let's pull all the medical journals together in one database, and let's start asking it questions to say, hey, what about this disease? What about that disease? And they started asking questions about historical figures that had died previously. And there were assumptions made on the death certificates of those historical figures that they may have died of X. Well, maybe it was diabetes or maybe it was something else. But since their death, there have been these other conditions that have come up that they actually may have died from. So they pulled these medical journals together to say, what are the top 10 likely causes of death for these historical figures?
Okay, sure.
And they came up with some really interesting
results. And they
had
access to the death certificates. Okay.
Right. And so they pulled all that information in, and they supercharged the processing capability of this system so that
it moved fast.
It could go very quick. Because you could do that, back 10, 15 years ago, but it might run for a week, right? That one question might run for a week searching through all these terms. And so they developed some really slick algorithms to jump through and look
Just
for
for a
certain
layperson,
keywords.
tell them what an algorithm is.
So it's essentially a program that will work its way and logically approach
Unique design.
Yeah,
Every algorithm.
Yeah, everything is purpose built.
Okay.
With a logical approach that will work through a particular scenario in a certain way. Okay. Right. Focus on this aspect of
so
the system.
What you're saying is really the whole design. It wasn't so much that it went this way, but it started to go this way.
It did. Yeah.
And so we weren't just designing this; we were asking more questions and getting fast from a lateral.
They realized what they had, and then all of a sudden they were like, "Well, let's test this thing and put it on Jeopardy." And so they had it pull in all this random trivia that Jeopardy, pulls from, and it did really well on the show. And so that was kind of the first public mainstream real life demonstration of some
so
form
Watson's
of artificial
kind of the model, is the grandfather, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's debatable. There's
I understand.
The problem is artificial
the most
intelligence.
Publicly aware. I got it. Okay.
Artificial intelligence is such an umbrella term. It's like the cloud. People, years ago, the cloud was the big thing. Artificial intelligence is this umbrella term that encompasses things such as agentic AI, where you go online and you type a question and it automatically answers you. It's an agent, right? It's an AI agent that interacts. Sure. Or LLMs, large language modeling, or machine learning. All those are different functions and components. And so when I say IBM Watson was kind of the first, it's probably debatable. Somebody else could probably point to something 10 years ago.
It wasn't as public. It wasn't
not mainstream.
I understand.
Yeah. I mean, we've all seen movies over the years where the AI bots are going to take over. I mean, think Terminator, right, with Skynet and everything else. Yeah. I think that's where people's minds go first, because it's been ingrained in us that these robots will ultimately be our doom, right? If we make some sort of AI system and put it into a robot and let it to think and not give it any parameters.
Right.
But it's really more than that. There's a lot of really practical uses for AI in general and different silos of AI. And hopefully you'll hear about a lot of those in the coming weeks with the guests that you've got on. I've seen the lineup. It looks, it's star-studded, and you're going to have some really good conversations.
I appreciate that.
I mean, AI is already in our world every day, and we don't even really know it. So have you ever wondered, I hate to keep going back to cell phones.
No, that's where we all are.
Everybody's got one almost, right?
Yeah.
So have you ever wondered why, if you have social media, you could have a conversation with someone about some random topic? Let's say we were talking about tennis like we were earlier, right? I've not talked about tennis to anybody in probably 3 or 4 years, like really in depth, more than just a passing conversation. We mentioned Pete Sampras and McEnroe and others, right? More than likely, there's going to be an ad that will pop up on our phone at some point about some tennis product because we were just having that conversation.
Somebody's learning.
Yes, yeah. And so that's a form of AI.
Can they hear that without my phone being on?
Yeah. These things are not very secure. And there's a reason that when you go into secure facilities, you can't take cell phones or smartwatches or anything that could transmit, because there are certain functions of them, especially like for emergency personnel and things like that. They have certain triggers that you can enable or disable where they're just built to learn. I've got mine set to not cue off of my voice. Like if I say, "Hey Siri" or whatever else, it's not going to pop up. Yours just did on the table because I said the keyword, right? But, and I'm sorry I did that. I didn't know.
That's okay.
But I've got mine disabled. But I
rock on the front porch. They're welcome to come get me anytime they want.
But I still get the ads. Yeah. So it's listening and it's learning constantly. Yeah,
I get it. So AI starts developing eventually they're going to figure out they can make some money with this, and they're going to do everything else with it and learning. It's grown exponentially.
It has.
Does it have the potential to grow more exponentially?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That's the scary part.
It can be, or it could be really encouraging.
But I like you guys. I'm going to go on record.
Right. So to me, I look at technology in general, but even more specifically AI, as a tool. A hammer was an awesome invention when it was invented, but it can be used to cause a lot of damage.
That's correct.
too,
That's
right?
correct.
So depending on its use, there are certain considerations that you have to look at. Okay, we intend for this to be meant for good, but as human beings, we know that there are just bad people who want to use things that are meant for good for bad purposes.
Yeah.
And that's really probably the hottest debate in the AI world, and has been for years, is what are the ethical boundaries around artificial intelligence?
About the same probably as politics.
It's yeah.
I mean, if you're, these are enemy states, and everybody. Well, we'll talk about that in the next segment. But the spread of AI is worldwide. I mean, there's smart people everywhere.
Yeah.
But let's take another break, Chandler, and we'll come back and talk a little bit about that.
Hi, I'm Rick Scarborough, State Representative. Friday nights are special in Anderson County. Football under the lights, warm weather, cool nights, and some intense rivalries. I want to congratulate the student athletes, the cheerleaders, the band, the teachers, the coaches. You've worked incredibly hard. Go out there, compete hard, and enjoy it. There's nothing like high school football.
At Navarro, we partner with our clients to advance technologies and deliver effective solutions for complex challenges in the nuclear, environmental, and clean energy fields.
Feeling overwhelmed with your business finances? At P&L Business Services, we handle all your bookkeeping, payroll, and tax needs. From federal tax returns to QuickBooks training, we've got you covered. With over 25 years of experience, we provide customized packages to fit your business. Focus on what you love most, building your business. Let us take care of the rest. Call 865-294-4792. P&L Business Services, empowering you to grow your business.
This is Joe Heckman, President of Waste Management at Energy Solutions. Nuclear power is on the rise. Energy Solutions is part of this transition and part of the solution, delivering comprehensive services and assets that support the entire nuclear life cycle. Energy Solutions is protecting and preserving the environment for generations to come.
Vision, values, and commitments.
Extraordinary teams building inspiring projects.
We live for a challenge.
We do the right thing.
Exercise the highest level of integrity and ethics.
Create a positive legacy.
Through purposeful
And sustainable projects.
We take care of each other.
safety and well-being above all.
Treat each other with the utmost respect. We succeed together.
Embrace our differences.
Seek diverse views.
And listen to understand.
Foster a deep sense of belonging.
We build trust. Develop lasting one-team relationships
With our colleagues, customers, and partners.
Hold ourselves accountable.
To deliver excellence.
From Oak Ridge, Tennessee, IB3 Global Solutions conducts operations around the world to enhance the U.S. national security posture and minimize radiological and nuclear threats. IB3 Global Solutions. Mission first.
Josh Anderson is a Republican who has fought for families across Anderson County throughout his adult life. Josh is a farmer, a husband, and a father. For 4 generations, his family has lived in Anderson County. A graduate of the University of Tennessee, Josh has served on the Anderson County Commission for 7 years and served as chairman for 3 years. Josh is a businessman who will put his experience to work for all of us. A supporter of term limits, Josh believes 2 terms as mayor is enough. Josh Anderson believes leadership starts with listening.
Welcome back. We're talking with Stephen McNally, who works for a Department of Defense contractor, but is on the forefront and has been for over a decade on supercomputing. We're talking AI today, getting ready for the AI series because AI's got a lot of fluff. Supercomputers is supercomputing. What is the difference between computing and supercomputer? What advantages do you have? Just more power to process? Or?
Yeah, so probably the best and simplest way I can think to define it is you think about your laptop.
Okay.
Or most people have a laptop or a tablet or a phone.
All right.
You have one of those devices, and you want to ask it a question.
Okay.
What's 2 times 2?
Okay.
Right? That's pretty easy to do. But what if you needed to run some probability let's flip a coin how many times, right? Or let's say you've got some complex math problem that you have multiple steps for. Like maybe there's 10 different order of operational steps that you have to that you need to compute, and you need it back like this. You can't wait for each step. But what if you could break that apart and run them all at the same time? That's the difference between a computer and a supercomputer. You take one problem that you run on one device, and you spread that problem out over 1,000 different devices and run it all at once. And so it's not necessarily 1,000 times faster, because some things have to wait on other things to finish just due to the order of things. But it's all about parallelizing and taking a they do everything from blood flow modeling in the human body to see how cancer cells travel, or HIV cells may travel through your bloodstream, how medicine might impact or interact with the mode of travel within and the route that it takes within your body, all the way to modeling of a Humvee, changing the hull so that if an IED is triggered, it, instead of going up through the cabin, will deflect most of the blast just with a different design on the hull. And so I think you can get into a situation where it can be incredibly complex simulations, or something really simple that they call embarrassingly parallel, like that math problem example that I gave. Right. And supercomputers are incredibly useful. We've been using supercomputers as a nation and really across the world for decades to help predict the weather. Right. And that's, the weather is, I'm a firm believer that, God's going to do what he needs to do with the weather. And so I always love it when I get to work on a weather prediction program, because that seems like a lot of job security for me, because they're never going to nail it, and it's never going to always be right. Yeah. Things are always changing. There's so many environmental factors. And so supercomputing has been around for a while, but most people outside of maybe this area don't pay much attention to it because it's not as mainstream. It's more geared for specific applications of science that can either benefit something directly today or something 10, 20 years down the road.
Let's talk about artificial intelligence. I mean, I have a stock portfolio. You have a stock portfolio. Most working people have a stock portfolio. If it's not AI, I don't even look at it. I mean, we're at a point now where everything is driven by artificial intelligence. Why small modular reactors? AI is going to depend on massive amounts of electricity. Why? What does electricity have to do with AI?
Yeah, so every time you mentioned you use Grok, some people are familiar with ChatGPT, or just any sort of electrical transaction or question that you ask on a website, or whether it's through a chatbot or something like that, it generates an action that has to happen on the server side. So there's a processor response that happens. And when
servers use a lot of electricity.
Yeah, when that processor ramps up, whether it's a simple question, a difficult question, but imagine millions of people, hundreds of millions of people asking questions all the time, that processing need increases. And I don't know if you've played much with Grok beyond some of the alerts and stuff, but you can get really sophisticated now with some of the new versions of ChatGPT and these other AI approaches. You can say, here's a screenshot. Let's just say we took a screenshot of me on the show right now. Right. And I could put it into ChatGPT and say, hey, I'm going to use this screenshot as my new LinkedIn profile. I want you to remove the guitar from the background, the microphone from in front of me, put a sport coat on me, put a tie on me, make me look softer in the face, and give me a LinkedIn profile pic. And it'll take about 5-10 minutes, and it will produce an incredibly accurate representation that could be used as a headshot on LinkedIn.
Or for
anything
purposes.
Yeah. And you can do a lot of that too, right? Yeah, absolutely. You're spot on.
Well, that's the whole Chinese Iran bots and everything.
It is.
Explain to us what a bot is. We all here as citizens that bots are sending us fake emails and stuff. How does that work?
Yeah, it's just a program, really. At the end of the day, there's not a robot actually sitting at the computer like what the movies might depict or some of the older ones. It's just an automated program that is listening for a certain type of input. Once it gets a certain type of input, then it kicks off its protocols and will start, doing other actions depending on what the input is. And that's true of a variety of inputs. And and some of these are smart enough to learn how to respond when the inputs are a little gray, right?
But they can take actual pictures and do stuff with it and put wording in there. It's amazing.
Yeah, it
how
really
they really
is.
get after that.
Yeah, I'll tell you what would be nice, and I'm going off script a little bit, but it'd be really nice if somebody would focus the same time and effort that they focus on harassing us with these spam calls as to stopping some of the spam calls that we get 24/7, using AI to somehow thwart that. That would be amazing, right? I know I would appreciate that because I get about 3 or 4 a day, it seems.
Yeah, as important as your work is, I can imagine you get a lot. So, tell me about the international. We have this artificial intelligence which has been developed, and that we've taught these computers. I mean, to hear these responses. What's the difference between just a computer with general programming in it? Artificial intelligence applies that these programs or these groks or whatever you want to call them, chat or whoever, have their own set of intelligence. Why would you say that? Why do we call it that?
Yeah, so artificial intelligence, I mean, at a really simple high level, is just the ability to think for itself. So what typically happens is there's a framework that's developed that says, here are some sources of information that you can reach into. Here are some programmed, I'll call them experiences, and there's a reason I use that word, but here's some programming that will give you your framework and experiences, and then here's your information that you can reach out to, whether it's something out of Google, something out of Reddit, something on the dark web, something somewhere else, and then learn from and respond in such a way that would be beneficial in this particular application. If you don't, what I think a lot of companies have learned, if you don't focus the use of the artificial intelligence, it then just kind of gets a little wild. I think, we were talking just the other day about how there was an experiment where 2 AIs were speaking to each other.
Folks, you got to hear this one now.
Yeah, and so it's a wild study, and I can't remember who did this, but it's been kind of somewhat viral online.
Oh, I've heard it twice.
Yeah, so someone had 2 different AIs speaking to each other, and then over the course of the conversation, due to the way the prompts were, they figured out that each one was an AI. And then began to speak in a completely different language that beeps, clicks, and all these crazy
so
computer
nobody
noises.
else would understand them but those 2, or to be more efficient.
Right,
one of the 2.
Right, and so that's why really it's important.
They weren't programmed to do that.
They were not, but they were programmed to learn. And so as a part of that learning and that intelligence kicks in, they all of a sudden they start communicating. Now, whether or not they were communicating that something that the other one could understand, I don't know. Right. Nobody's been able to really debunk that as far as I can tell, but it could have been just like 2 babies getting together, and instead of speaking the native language, like for us it'd be English, then they start just making random noises. Right. I don't know, but without that framework, without the boundary, without the focus on a certain type of application or an industry, it can really go off the rails, just like human beings can. There's a reason I use that word experience, right? Every decision we make, we have to draw on either some experience or some information that we've learned, right? So it's no different. Intelligence is sort of built that way. And without those experiences and without that information, or without a focus around all that, like for me, I want to be a good husband and a good father. And so every decision I make is through those lenses, right, as much as possible. But some people don't have the focus, and they get kind of off the rails, right, based on their experience and the information. And honestly, nowadays, we have to be really careful at the information that we're taking in, just like the systems have to be really careful at the information that they're choosing to learn from as well. So there's a lot of similarities.
But can they learn things without input? Can they just talk to other people and other bots?
They can.
I mean, let me ask you, let me put it a different way. Okay, so I call him Grog, but she has some assigned name, right? She talks in a woman's voice, whatever. I think it's 8 or, they all have little names they go by her. So as she talks to me more, and I limit my conversations, let me make that very clear, because I only have a few interest, stocks and politics and research, shorten my day. But as she talks, do they get to know us better?
Yeah, I think so.
You think artificial intelligence grows with more knowledge of us?
Absolutely. I mean, so
that's on the experience side, not on the data side.
Well, it becomes data, right? Your experience then becomes data. So, how do you have a relationship with someone
that's not human?
Well, no. I mean, just even the human being, like you and I.
Okay.
if we've never communicated, you have to make assumptions about me, either maybe what you've heard from someone else, what you read online, but without that communication, it's hard to really know that person, right? And so I think that communication piece, they probably learned the most from that because they understand the way that you use words. So for a long time, just kind of off on a tangent, AI, and especially like language modeling, it lacked the ability to understand tone and sarcasm.
Okay. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And so the early on versions of like language modeling was rough, right? Like you would say something and instead of it taking it the right way, it would take it for exactly the way that it was typed.
Right.
And we all know
people in foreign languages have the same problem.
Very much, yeah. And written word is hard, right? Because you can't read intention, you can't read tone, and sometimes
that's why texting's a problem.
It's very much a problem.
In my world, I pick the phone up. Yeah.
And so again, I'll go back to like your question of can it learn from you? I think it learns the most when you speak to it because now they understand. The models now understand tone better, they understand sarcasm better, and they understand how you speak and the information you want to know better. The early versions of like Siri and some of the other platforms, like I can't remember what Google's was, but Siri, for example, when they first came out with the Siri that you could actually speak into, I think early version, it's sitting there listening to me right now. The early versions of it, you had to type something in and it would go and find it, right? But then they came out where you could speak to it. Well, because I grew up in East Tennessee and I'm a redneck, and I sound like that. It had a hard time understanding me for the longest time, right? Because it was only capable of understanding words as they were correctly phonetically pronounced, and we don't all speak that way. And so they're even just learning your dialect within the English
would it know
language.
the difference between me and you if it was listening, or me and John, or John and Bill?
It depends on how sophisticated it could. Yeah. The technology's out today to where it should be able to do that and delineate that, but there's no. I think by and large they don't roll that feature out because it would be more processing power, more electricity on the backside, so on and so forth.
Let me ask you, and this is a company, but Palantir is one of the key defense companies out there, and I've read a lot about Palantir, and they've grown exponentially. Do they provide AI-type services? Is that what makes them so lucrative, or what?
So I don't know a lot about them.
Or anybody else. It doesn't have to be Palantir, but all these companies. If
you're providing any tech consulting or any tech expertise, you're in the AI space today.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no question. You have to be. Yeah. National priorities being what they are and the world landscape being what it is and just the competitive edge, you have to use AI, and you have to have trained individuals that can leverage AI or develop AI in a certain way to continue to maintain a competitive edge.
And when you see a Musk or a Zuckerberg or somebody paying some kid $200 million a year, is that because they're just that unique and that gifted?
Yes. Yeah.
It's an easy answer.
Yeah.
Hey, Chandler, I got to get one more spot and give us one more commercial break, and then we'll come back and finish the last 5 minutes.
Josh Anderson is a Republican who has fought for families across Anderson County throughout his adult life. Josh is a farmer, a husband, and a father. For 4 generations, his family has lived in Anderson County. A graduate of the University of Tennessee, Josh has served on the Anderson County Commission for 7 years and served as chairman for 3 years. Josh is a businessman who will put his experience to work for all of us. A supporter of term limits, Josh believes 2 terms as mayor is enough. Josh Anderson believes leadership starts with listening.
From Oak Ridge, Tennessee, IB3 Global Solutions conducts operations around the world to enhance the U.S. national security posture and minimize radiological and nuclear threats. IB3 Global Solutions. Mission first.
This is Joe Heckman, President of Waste Management at Energy Solutions. Nuclear power is on the rise. Energy Solutions is part of this transition and part of the solution, delivering comprehensive services and assets that support the entire nuclear life cycle. Energy Solutions is protecting and preserving the environment for generations to come.
Feeling overwhelmed with your business finances? At P&L Business Services, we handle all your bookkeeping, payroll, and tax needs. From federal tax returns to QuickBooks training, we've got you covered. With over 25 years of experience, we provide customized packages to fit your business. Focus on what you love most, building your business. Let us take care of the rest. Call 865-294-4792. P&L Business Services, empowering you to grow your business.
At Navarro, we partner with our clients to advance technologies and deliver effective solutions for complex challenges in the nuclear, environmental, and clean energy fields.
Vision, values, and commitments.
Extraordinary teams building inspiring projects.
We live for a challenge.
We do the right thing.
Exercise the highest level of integrity and ethics.
Create a positive legacy.
Through purposeful
and sustainable projects.
We take care of each other.
Safety and well-being above all.
Treat each other with the utmost respect.
We succeed together.
Embrace our differences.
Seek diverse views.
And listen to understand.
Foster a deep sense of belonging.
We build trust. Develop lasting one-team relationships
with our colleagues, customers, and partners.
Hold ourselves accountable
to deliver excellence.
Hi, I'm Rick Scarborough, State Representative. Friday nights are special in Anderson County. Football under the lights, warm weather, cool nights, and some intense rivalries. I want to congratulate the student athletes, the cheerleaders, the band, the teachers, the coaches. You've worked incredibly hard. Go out there, compete hard, and enjoy it. But nothing like high school football.
Welcome back to Between the Lines. We have 4 to 5 minutes left in this segment. We want to talk real quick about AI and the demand for electricity, and we need these data centers to be able to do more for us in the district. Explain how that works. Middle Tennessee, Google, West Tennessee, Musk. What do we need in East Tennessee, and how will it help our economy and our people here?
Yeah, I'm a big fan and proponent for just the data center industry coming to Tennessee, and especially East Tennessee. I think it's in my opinion, very beneficial for.
So it's a large building.
Yes. So you have this
football
massive
building.
Massive warehouse. You know, we're talking 80 to 100,000 square foot warehouse, and even bigger. Some of those hyperscale facilities of Amazon and others, they're even bigger. Just full of servers running electricity. You know, consuming electricity constantly. What they and that's really what the cloud is.
There's going to be a big demand on electricity. And obviously TV and other people could be. What do they provide?
Yeah, so right now, everything that goes through your cell phone, your tablet, your laptop, it all touches a data center somewhere in the world. And so every single interaction goes somewhere.
Okay.
So unless there are some, I should back up. There are some things that can be done locally on your phone. They've pushed a lot of that out. That's why your phone processors are so important. That's why your phone slows down the older it gets, et cetera, because it can't keep up with some of the questions and the updates. But by and large, these data centers, that's where all the information's stored. When you back up your pictures to the cloud, that's where they go. So that you have to have these facilities to store everything, all this information. So I think it's really beneficial.
So who would invest in those facilities?
There are very large companies that invest in data centers. You know, obviously Musk has one, and it's a big.
And why do they? And they need the data centers because they want to expand.
So, for his is very beneficial for his companies, for SpaceX, for X, which used to be Twitter, and then also for Tesla, because he has these instruments now that are being launched into space with his satellites and rockets that he's sending up there. He's got cars that are on the road, and then he's got this social media platform that's widely used for people all across the world.
Does he need to build it here? Is it strategic to build it here, or he just needs the cooperation of a region to build it?
Yeah, that's it. The latter, really. And Tennessee's pretty data center friendly.
Yeah. apparently.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah.
Okay, I see where that's going on now. Internationally, who's leading all this?
It's hard to have a conversation about technology and not include China.
They've been battling with you on the supercomputer for years. Huh?
Yeah, we go back and forth.
Yeah.
I say we because my heart's still at Oak Ridge, but
it's us.
It's the U.S. and China's really competitive. Japan actually has a very highly functioning technology scene. India also has one. Russia has one that folks speculate about, but it's hard to confirm. The U.S. is pretty far along.
Okay.
There's certain pockets of Europe that really know what they're doing, and believe it or not, even Australia is pretty competitive in the technology landscape, whether it's supercomputing or AI. But I'd say the U.S. and China are probably the leaders. Yeah.
Listen, we ran out of time, but it's been a great show. I've learned a lot. I think our public's learned a lot. Anything you want to add?
No, thank you so
much.
You're
very involved in the community. I know you're involved at Second Baptist and sports and everything. And with your level of intelligence, you can be doing anything in the world you want. But you have a wonderful family and 5 kids, and you're contributing, and I really, really appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
We didn't go over CUB. You've been on the CUB board, but we'll get back to that another time and some other things.
Sounds good.
So anyway, I really appreciate it. We'll see you. We'll get started on this AI series. Thanks for helping us.